hey, you guys should try it. Like, there's been some new content here and there, and like I know for me, I was just playing other shit. It wasn't that I had anything against Helldivers or like I was mad at Sony for, making people get a PlayStation account or something. But I do think like also like knowing that there were that group of people out there that were kind of pissed at the game, like also made it easier to not care, like sort of, and it does seem like folks are getting over that. Like what are your thoughts on that? Like how did they come back from this, other than getting the balancing right and quitting with the nerfing and keeping the Warbonds coming out and the Illuminids coming in? I guess are the ways that I kind of see, but people were pissed.
Welcome gamers, non-gamers, PvEers, PvPers, and even NPCs, and all you patriot, democracy-loving Helldivers. This is New Wave Gaming. What up, ChukTomahawk?
Hey, how's it going?
All good, man. Hey, how about that re-enlistment we did last night?
Oh, I'm back on the launching on the surface of the new planets.
Getting shot out of the butthole of a big old ship orbiting to take on, what is it now, the Illumined?
Yeah.
Is that it? That's the
I
name
want
of
to
that
say
new
Illuminati,
faction, right?
but you're right. It is the Illumined.
They seem like the Illuminati, dude. Those overseers and shit. Or what are those guys that I don't know if they're the overseers, but they're the ones flying around. They got like little jetpacks and those those double-ended energy sticks.
Dicks, man. Those things are they're doing some real damage. They get behind enemy lines quick.
Man, oh man, they do. But it turns out, and of course, it was just a matter of time before we found this out, there are easy ways to get rid of those busters, man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still in the learning phases.
There's nothing wrong with that. Hell yeah, dude. Hey, what number pod is this?
I want to say 69, but it's 68. Yeah.
Is it 68? Okay. Why do you want to say 69?
It's coming up, man, the golden 69 episode. And dude, speaking of that, before I forget, like I noticed we got like 16 5-star reviews there on Spotify now, and definitely want to thank our listeners for that. We got to set a new goal. Like we made our goal.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, fellow gamers. Yeah. Oh, no shit, dude. We got 16 5-star ratings.
Yeah, we've got 16 now. And I remember we were asking folks for 10 and like we went past that. So yeah,
so what's the new number? What are you asking folks for out there, Chuck?
50.
Fellow game
50? Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, thanks to everybody that took a little second there to pump that in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So, and hell, since we're on Helldivers, let us know what y'all think about how Helldivers has evolved over the last year, because it's been about a year, right, Chuck?
It is, dude. We're coming up on Malevelon Creek Day. April 3rd is coming up.
Oh my god!
I forget. It was like the president of Super Earth in our managed democracy there. Like he managed to declare that April 3rd. Because, man, it was about this time last year. Shit was going down. We were deep in the Helldivers.
You were deep on enemy lines?
Fuck yeah, dude. It was literally like that. Like I had kind of forgot, but doing a little research for this episode, like the way I remember Malevelon Creek going down, you know how like there's in this game you can kind of select where you go, like these different planets, and there was this time period where Malevelon Creek fell, but if you were still there you could keep on fighting, but no reinforcements could come in, so you were just in there. It was like, you know how it'll be like planets are so much liberated, it was like 0.00001% liberated or whatever, and we were still fucking there, and shit was real, man. like
oh my god, dude,
that's what it got. They called it Space Vietnam, man. It was unreal. Those fucking Autobots.
Are you serious? Hey,
yeah,
for the record, I wasn't.
Some of the balancing, like, so the Autobots were just freaking, the automatons were out of control, dude. You couldn't fucking kill them. The bigger ones, like, I feel like they've been nerfed a little bit since then, and our weapons were kind of like, they're just the basic ones. I think that was the days like when the rail gun was still the rail gun. It hadn't been nerfed at all, but so you had this meta, I think, at that time of the backpack, the shield generator backpack, and the rail gun. But man, it was unreal, like especially compared to the Terminids. I thought, like in the beginning, like the automatons there, like especially in that this time last year when it was all kind of fresh, I was scared of those automatons.
Man, I feel like you're having flashbacks, dude. I kind of understand. Like I remember, like fellow gamers, for the record, Chuck reached out yesterday and told me that he was getting a little emotional. Like I sent him I'm like, hey, check out this vid, man. Just so see what the latest is and like pro tips and stuff regarding the game and. Helldivers II. We also got a little bit deeper into the lore. We did kind of a deep dive into the lore, and then, well, Chuck, I mean, you tell him.
yeah. Well, that came up, and then one of my first thoughts was like, somebody should make a T-shirt for that, and I looked it up, and they have. Like, there's tons of them out there. My favorite is like I think it was in an advertisement later on in the game, like it's like. One of the helmets of the Helldivers is there, and it's all busted up, and like, oh man, you can kind of. There's a few versions I've seen of one of them. You can see like a skull in there, like kind of. It's pretty gnarly.
Well, for anyone that wasn't on the battlefield, please don't hate me, fellow patriots out there. I just wasn't. I was injured at the time. I was in what's the Super Earth Hospital for all the Helldivers? I wasn't there. I was recovering. But ChukTomahawk was, yeah. Hey, I'm not a traitor. I'm here. Yeah. I got it's still on there. But ChukTomahawk was on the battlefield. Can you kind of just, for anyone that's in a position like myself, Chuck, that wasn't on the battlefield, was in the back lines. What was up with this? I think it's called Malevelon Creek.
It had probably been out a good little minute there, and one of the shortfallings I felt like in the beginning of this game is, although there was a lot of content, there wasn't enough, like for how much we loved it. Like so. Ultimately, people were just kind of getting into starting to look for the samples and realizing, like, how important that was to kind of progressing through the game and upgrading your stuff. And then, like, you had all those server crashes. Like, it became kind of hard to get on at times, and that kind of,
so many people were playing. Sorry for interrupting and interjecting, but there was just, and we talked about this in previous episodes. In fact, I think we've done 3 episodes on Helldivers 2 already, but that was a year ago. But we did mention that, like, this game, when it dropped, it hit hard, man. I mean, everyone was playing it. Like, everyone was playing this game.
In a play session, a lot of times would look something like, let's get warmed up, let's kind of squad check here, fucking quality check on, if we're playing with each other, obviously we know, our own capability, or, our squad capabilities, but if you're playing with randos, like, you go over to the Terminid side, like get a couple rounds in over there, and then fly over to Malevelon Creek, like where... Jesus Christ, it was a whole different story. Just everything like on that Terminid planet, although it was kind of dark and dreary a little bit, it didn't compare at all to the atmosphere on the automaton planets. Like, they just seemed like nightmare freaking fuel. Like, it just looked
nightmare
so dystopian
fuel,
nightmarish. Like, and like there's something about, like, I don't know, like the robots, like robots are always known for just being callous to me. Like there's not that emotional side to them. They're just they just keep on coming, and God almighty, this game got stressful, dude. Like, I felt it just like in our little bit of playing yesterday. There is something about this game, like the community is really cool. Like, there's some I feel like the live service creates this awesome community experience at times, but it also creates some kind of
the fun factor
is there though. Like I don't know quite how to explain it. Yeah, like an example is I feel like last night we were playing, and at first, like, we had two randos with us, and at first we were like, these guys are on it, man, they're on these objectives, like, and then
Well, the one guy was, dude, but at the end there, like, there were two dudes that were just like, fuck the objectives, and they were just shooting in every direction, dude.
And
Like,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I feel like this game like does that to you, like when you're like just. Because it's never easy, especially on those harder difficulties, man.
yeah,
And there's never
played
a fucking moment to relax. Like, if you stay anywhere for long, like, shit just starts going down. So, like, there's never this moment to be like, all right, let's talk this over. Let's get the map out. And, like, well, why don't we hit this objective first and that one next? And
let me interject real quick, Chuck. I think And fellow gamers, if you hear this and you're like, no, that's not how it works, please drop a comment on Spotify or reach out, let us know, interact, and just let us know. But I remember that, or at least I think I remember that one of the cool like mechanics about this game was that the longer you're in the level, or like the longer you're in the mission, rather, the harder it gets over time. I don't know if that's still a thing because the game has undergone a bunch of nerfs, buffs, modifications, and changes and all that in the year it's been out. But I remember, I have some vague memory of like someone telling me, hey, dude, what's cool is like the longer you're in there, the harder it gets. And that may have been BS, but I think that's actually a thing.
I do too. And I feel like if not, there's just like a whole bunch of things that are being done to create this sense of urgency constantly. And so it like last night, I decided to get like kind of halfway through our game, I decided to stream it so we'd have a little bit of footage, of some things going on here and there, maybe so I had the camera that had me like covering part of the map. I'd put it a few different places, like trying to see which was going to be best, but I hadn't played the game in a minute, so I forgot that was going to cover the map, so I wasn't able to like really figure out where I was just kind of following y'all because of that for a minute. And
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and we were on those new planets, so the objectives are different, and it takes a minute to figure that shit out. And I guess what I'm getting at is eventually I remember so many instances like where it never feels like it's like this cohesive effort. Like it's always like I feel like I'm going for the objectives and no one else is, or like it's like I was kind of playing, I was kind of following a little bit last night. But yeah, you almost need a leader in that game somehow, and absent of that, it feels like it can feel like you're the only one, focusing on the objectives and like. Yeah.
And isn't it? It seems like it's always like that, right? When you're playing with random people. I mean, yesterday it was just you and I, and myself, and then two Randys. So it was hard to, and we kind of were experiencing that last night precisely. And at first, we had a great Randy that kind of took the lead. And if someone takes the lead like that, I just let them go for it, and I'll be a great follower, a great teammate as best as I can. But putting the whole like rallying everyone up aside thing, my kind of overview of this, and I'm not saying I follow this to the letter because we're humans, we deviate, but like I kind of look at it as what are you dropping in, like, is it you get shot out of the butthole of that big ship, what is it called, the I don't remember, mine's called like the, oh god, I named mine the just nastiest thing I could, why am I forgetting? Chuck,
Teabagger. I forgot. Mine's like the Wraith of something, but I forget what it is. Like we had, it was like set choices. We couldn't.
Mine's like the Fist of Glory or something really kind of creepy. But anyways, so you get shot out of that thing, and then so I think my idea is you got to know what you're going in for, and if you're going in for a balanced mission, like a balanced run, obviously you got to beat the objectives, but you can gauge, okay, who am I with? Are they good? Am I a solo? Am I with all of my boys? And we're, and like if you're in a situation where you're with all your boys or gals, which is often in this game, you do. Ideally, I think you should play with friends. It's just so much funner, and it's already like the fun factor is insane. But anyways, you get in there. You should take advantage of the beginning of the mission to explore the sub objectives, like those little minor quests, where you can get super credits and all those samples, and you might come across a weapon that you like, I'm gonna mess with it, so you get a lot of like there's secondary objectives out of the way. And if you do it with a good team, you can really knock that stuff out fast. In fact, if you're with a really good team, like each person could go independently and just knock those out, maybe teams of 2, or you can all roll together and just, which is also just as fun because I think, let me stay on point here, but I got something else to say too. And then once you realize, okay, numbers are picking up, we're starting to get, patrols coming in, then you can start hitting those objectives. And then, at that point, you just kind of got to it depends on the difficulty too, but I guess what I'm saying is, to summarize it, is you got to be mindful of who you're with, what your goals are, and then play the best strategy. But man, there's also something to be said though about those moments like where you're all just in a kerfluffle and you're just blasting shit out into smithereens, because it is so much fun, man. And you really do create some cinematic moments. I mean, cinema, right? When you see like these, and man, did they or did they not do the spaceships just awesomely?
They did. Like, I can't emphasize enough too, like the atmosphere that they create. Like it just lends itself to role playing. Like I feel like I was just amazed.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Honestly, what you just described, like playing it, like other games, I feel like we approach them as ourselves in real life and just say like, yeah, this could be fun, and then occasionally get into the role play part. This game, like, it just sinks you into that role play. Like, it's kind of like it presents this nearly impossible, serious ass killing involved task, and then like approaches it from a comedic side of hopelessness. Essentially, like it's like, who gives a shit? We're dead already. Like we are the Walking Dead. Like everyone going down these tubes is gonna die. Like and like
for democracy,
there are some and
for Super Earth,
and yeah, like just those little things. Like honestly, like you sent me a video about the lore. Like when you really listen to the lore, like it's kind of shit. Like they say like it's good, like that it's depth. But when they start talking about managed democracy and how essentially there's a dictator that decides everything, and we just kind of like everyone's just going along with it, and like the whole story goes really shitty. It's like a commentary on.
Like a fascist state regime,
sort
or something?
of, like a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of it, like in reality,
and
propaganda at max.
And we eat it up, like I think as human beings, like there's just something about us. Like I sent you that one article where the actual UN, the United Nations, contacted Arrowhead Studios to get them to come and speak to the United Nations about, like, I don't want to use the word brainwashing, but just sort of like getting folks on board with something. Like they didn't necessarily use the word brainwashing. They used a word like just motivating people, sort of like, and
a psychological talk is what it says. Yeah. The title of the article.
Yeah. So I don't think they ended up doing that, but like. I think
it says the United Nations asked Helldivers II Studio Arrowhead if it give a talk on psychological manipulation, and then it says, quote, "Could we brainwash an entire community to fight for a fascist state? Would we be okay with that?" And then it says, "Turns out, yeah."
It is, dude. I keep thinking of my dog too, man. Like when you take a dog for a walk and like you kind of establish like you're the pack leader, like you can see this like calm come over the dog. Like it's just like, oh shit, I don't have to think about anything. Like, this guy's leading the way, and they just kind of like, you can have two dogs that are fighting and you kind of take control of both of them, and it calms them down somehow. And I feel like there's something like that in human beings. Like those dogs don't give a shit where I'm taking them walking. They're just following, like, and like once I see a nut, like I'm like, oh, Ovox is on board. Well, then fuck yeah, like, for democracy,
launch me in,
like, yeah, like, just especially when it's like a cause like that, like so impossible, like you can't be thinking about the nuances of government, like, or whatever. You just gotta believe, because you're putting your ass out there, like, and yeah, I think they hit something there, dude, at the beginning of that, like. And what makes this such an interesting story is I feel like too, like when you just think about we mentioned it's almost been a year since this thing was so popular last year. Well, shit, a few months into it, they were on top of the fucking world. Like they had like 300, 400,000, hundreds of thousands of continuous players on Steam. Like we literally could not get on the fucking thing.
We couldn't get on for like a week.
And hats off to the head of Arrowhead Studios. He's got a Swedish name that I can't pronounce too super well. It's like Peter. His name up here.
Is it Peter? I thought it was like Johan or
it's
UT lead developer.
Johan Pilstedt. He actually came out and said, like, if you're strapped for cash, don't buy our game right now because the servers are struggling. And like buy it later. Like obviously I'm, the CEO of this company. I want you to buy our game and sales to be great. But like if, and he qualified it with if you're strapped for cash, like, if you're choosing this over something else right now, don't do it. Like, cause the thought of you being in that queue with me holding your money would break my heart. And dude, I read an article that just came out recently, like in the last couple of weeks. He said it was within 5 minutes he got a phone call from Sony Interactive Entertainment saying, "What the fuck are you smoking, dude? Like, do not say that."
What a surprise. Man. We get shout out to Johan and his team and Arrowhead at large for having a little bit of compassion for the gamer and like understanding and total respect to them, man. Because I couldn't visualize any other developer coming out and saying, "Hey, like don't buy our game right now, and like hold out. We want yeah." Oh, it's like, oh, you're concerned about our you're concerned about us, the gamer, about our funds, about our what we get for what we buy. Like, hey, what a nice feeling. Absolutely. And honestly, as the story continues, it gets worse. Like, because we had the whole, which I don't know that I can do a great job of summarizing, but I will attempt to summarize it in the fact that when the game originally came out and they started having these issues, like they were having some server overload just from use or whatever, they suspended a part that had initially been intended to be part of the game, in that the people that bought the game on Steam were supposed to have had to create a PlayStation Network account to be able to play this game. No different than when I play FIFA, I have to create an EA Sports account, whatever. Like, it doesn't make me happy, but like when it's standing between me and kicking some goals, like it's not a big deal. Like for me to jump through that hoop. That's a good comparison.
Jump through that hoop or whatever. I mean, it's obviously some kind of money grab. My data is being used for something, but I just don't give a shit. Like, I'm glad that EA exists and they're making games, but
are you jumping to the
the discussion,
to the
a little bit.
Justification before the discussion?
I should probably like finish the summary a little bit. So ultimately, like I said, like on Steam, all users were supposed to have had to create a PSN account, but in a good move by Sony, which they're not, I've never heard anyone until now give them credit for it, they suspended that. They said, okay, like that's going to complicate things with these server crashes or whatever, we'll suspend that. But eventually the server crashes got straightened out, and they said, like, okay, no, now you're going to have to create a PlayStation account to be able to use this. They put that out on Twitter, and people went fucking apeshit. Like, it's almost like what we just described, that same community that had been, caught the entrance of their psychological abilities at the UN, like that, those people like got turned on Sony in real life. Like almost with the same, fever that they had been like, approaching the fight for democracy. They started fighting Sony and went to Steam, where this game had nothing but positive reviews, and started like all of a sudden the reviews went bad, and you had hundreds of thousands of people on there like tanking this thing. And Man, I had some mixed feelings about that. I would often say, like what I said earlier, like it was clear at the beginning that you had to do that. But the one like rebuttal that always stuck is you had a number of countries where PlayStation is not allowed, that Steam is allowed, where people had bought this game and paid $40 some for it. And now they're being told they got to create this account that they can't create. So they basically have lost their $40. And I think Steam even overrode their own policies and said, we'll give you your money back. But the damage was done, dude. People were pissed.
The damage is done. That is true, Chuck. You're right about that. I have mixed feelings as well. I mean, because I think I'm not 100% sure. I should have double checked, but I think Sony said goodbye to that policy.
They did.
Totally.
They
totally. Like
said,
you don't have to do that anymore, I think. And I also believe that anyone playing on Xbox to date cannot play Helldivers 2.
Correct.
On Xbox. Fellow gamers, Helldivers, democracy lovers, if I'm wrong about that, let me know. Please hit us up. Drop a comment in the Spotify there or on whatever you're listening to your podcast on, because I'm not 100% sure about that, but I believe Xbox players still cannot play Helldivers 2 unless something's going on there. I don't know if it's that they have to make the third-party account with the PlayStation Network. I'm not sure. Let us know. Hit us up. But yeah, so that really hurt them, and then I think that, in conjunction with some really odd decision-making in terms of buffs and nerfs and weapons and enemies and all this stuff, really just lowered the numbers. Like that, those two things, like, basically took what was a extreme, like, immediate stellar hit right out of the gate to not too long after losing everything, all the steam that it had gained. Right, Chuck? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, dude. I think if you came to me at this time last year and said, do you think you'll still be playing Helldivers on a daily basis at this time next year, I'd have been like, fuck yeah, I hope so. Like, you know, and...
Yeah, at this time last year? Yeah, at this time.
I feel like you were the first in our group that was kind of like, this is getting a little repetitive. Like, I've launched a few nukes now, and I've saved a few.
I've saved some civilians. You know,
yeah, I've searched and destroyed a few nests.
The automatons hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, or the Illuminati,
like that.
The Illuminids are.
No, I don't even think the automatons were out when I was already starting to get like. No, yeah, they were.
I think
they were out.
The automatons were there at launch. Like if we had both sides.
Were they at launch immediately? It doesn't matter. Point is yeah, I was the one to kind of get like, yeah, this is kind of getting repetitive, and
yeah, but you didn't stop playing, you know. But I feel like me and
I never even
undownloaded
it.
Yeah, we were you know still in heavy and but like I mentioned earlier about that lack of content, like I hit level 50 and had almost all the stratagems and shit, and just was kind of coasting, and like. They would make these new Warbonds that like kind of like kept you interested, but yeah, you're right. Like I don't think those two things were meant to happen at the same time. Like Sony kind of shitting in the water, and then like they basically came out with a flamethrower heavy Warbond and then nerfed all the flamethrowers. like
they
right
nerfed everything, dude.
Right
like,
before it came out, and you can understand in a PvP game, like balancing is super fucking important, but in a PvE game, like who the fuck cares? Like just add more enemies, make the enemy
we only want to have fun. Make the weapons not make them super nerfed, man. I want to see that freaking charger vaporize. I don't want him to just be like and then fall down, and then he's bleeding out. I want that thing to go just I want to breathe.
And you want the fear, like you want to see them enemies, like especially the bigger ones, and be like, oh shit, like if we could just melt them, like like it probably would get old. Like they've got to have some substance to them, but yeah, nerfing the guns is not it. And like, I feel like too, like you had so many weapons that, I don't know, they were just difficult to use. Like it seemed like I kind of used a lot of the same weapons at the same times. Yeah, it's such a like unpredictable fucking road that this went on. Like, if you'd asked me at this time last year, I'd have been like, man, they've got a hit. Like, they've got this fucking live service where there's some dude, like, what were we calling him, Joel or something? Like, there was some cat we found out was like, that was his job, and like to manage the war, and like he was just pumping new content out constantly, and like,
we were like,
dude, yeah, and like, I mean, when they would say like, you know, major order, focus on this planet, like, you felt like you were part of something, like it mattered.
Oh, dude, and you know, as soon as you get into the drop pod, it just, dun, 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 you start getting all nipply and shit. Like, here we go, boys, lock and load, get some.
Yeah,
and then you just immediately get fucking just obliterated.
But good God, dude, I also remember like it seemed like too like you know, there was that, for me it kind of peaked around probably April-ish, like somewhere April, May, and then like as time went on, like there were some ugly fucking times, dude. I remember playing this game and people had figured out,
hey fellow gamers, hold on, I didn't come out right.
No, that's perfect.
We should just leave that. Hey, fellow gamers, if you haven't already, go on to Spotify, give us a follow and a 5-star rating. That would help us a bunch. We really need the support. It gets us out there to more fellow gamers like yourself. And yes, I will leave that blooper.
That's right. 'Cause we love you gamos. And like a good move with the samples was if you swing by the evac spot during the game, drop them at the evac site. But nobody sent me that memo. Like, so I'm just fucking bebopping along one day. I see some samples. I'm like, shit, we're going to need these. And I pick them up, you know, and next thing I know, some dude is just climbing my ass in the fucking chat, you know, like, even though like on the surface, like when I, you know, kind of figured out what they were doing, I was like, that's pretty smart. Like the way he came at me, I was like, fuck you in every one of these samples. Like, fuck you in the pod you came in on, buddy. I just like, oh, it just infuriated me so much.
What was the thesis of this guy that was like, you know,
basically he was calling me a fucking idiot and, you know, selfish narcissist for, you know, scooping those things up, and I was just like, okay, number one, like, relax. You don't know me. Like, and number two, like, okay, like, you know, and I think I even put the fuckers back.
Like, what was he saying though? What was his idea? Or like, that's what I don't understand.
Honestly, like, it's not fresh enough for me to hit you with verbatim, but the gist was like, hey, who picked up those fucking samples? And then just started like, you know, a negative attack on me, unjustified. Like. You know, like,
yeah, I think I remember you bringing this up once, and if my memory serves, I think what you were saying was that gamer was trying to like make sure that they wouldn't like get just lost out in the battlefield, that they would be at the. Okay, that's what I'm asked. That's what I was trying to remember. Like, what was his position, or like, why was he? Because he or she must have known that the samples are communal. Like no matter who gets them out, like we all get them.
Yeah, and I guess, like, to clarify, what I did is it was still mid-match, you know, we still had a few objectives to go, and I happened to come by there, and I picked them up, like, and took them far away from there, and then died again, like you know, which destroyed his whole plan.
Okay,
but,
that's not
yeah,
but the whole
but like, you know, instead of just being like being able to realize there might be a world where I didn't know that was his plan and just thought they were dropped, you know, like he just started in like, you know, your trash fucking campaign, you know, that I just met with, you know, the same back.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was like,
just some, yeah.
You know, and
someone
it
that
got
doesn't see
ugly.
enough sunlight.
It got ugly, and even my own behavior got ugly. Like I've mentioned before, like those fucking like rescue the scientist mission. Like I remember, like, you know, just
Man,
kind
those
of being
used
in
to
my
be
introvert
so-
mode, not really wanting to deal with people, but just being like, I'm gonna have to do it, and like fucking just coming on and being like, "Can you hear me? All right." You could just tell people were fucking hating it. Like right from the beginning, they're like, "Who's this asshole?" And I was just like, because you know, I mentioned this before, but like it would be like you'd need the whole team to stay the fuck away from that base, you know, so all the defenses didn't come there and getting that information to people, and you needed one guy over there letting the scientists out. So
Yeah, that was
I
the
would
best
say,
strategy
all right,
in
you
the
guys
beginning.
circle up right here, and I'm going to go let the scientist out, and fucker would follow me over there, you know, and I'd be like, God damn it, stop, you know, and yeah.
I think they eventually modified that whole mechanic too a little bit so that it wasn't like, because it was hard. It was impossible to pull that mission off because just everything would rain down and all the scientists would just get mangled and be like, well, managed democracy.
Well, no shit. And they like the AI just was not the same. They have an AI on those fucking enemies that is just like meh, fucking comes right over and destroys you. But the AI on those fucking scientists, they were just like running in circles.
That's so
instead
true.
of going
man.
where they needed to go. But yeah, that game, man, there's something there, you know, that just like I said, the role play starts to feel incredibly real, and you really have to depend on teammates. Like even last night, like I felt like just some kind of stress, like, you know, that I couldn't quite put my finger on, like you know.
But hey, we did pull off all of our missions. Like we did well. We didn't get as many samples. Like I love getting samples out, man. That's one of my main, like, I don't even need them anymore. I have so many. You know what's funny, dude, is I haven't even reached level 50 yet. And that was like back in the early days when the game had just come out. That was like the whole thing was getting to level 50 because there weren't any more levels beyond that yet.
I'm not sure I can look at you the same now that you've reminded me you weren't in Malevelon Creek, man.
Dude, I was
it's like in Band of Brothers, the guys that weren't in Bastogne, man. It was like, man, you were sick. What? You're in a field hospital in Germany.
Hey, man, I was in the medical tent recovering from a couple, you know. But hey, let me, on that note, I
remember.
Hold on, one sec.
Came to your
one sec. Hold on, Chuck. I want to take advantage because you brought it up. Because I think it's worthy of mention because it's coming up and you keep bringing up this Malevelon Creek. So let me just break it down here. Malevelon Creek is one of the significant battlegrounds in Helldivers II, known for its strategic importance in the ongoing conflict across the galaxy. The Battle of Malevelon Creek takes place shortly after the game's launch as Helldivers fight to reclaim the planet from hostile forces. The location, Malevelon Creek, is a planet that has been overrun by enemy forces, making it a critical location for the Federation's effort to maintain control over the galaxy. The Helldivers were tasked with liberating Malevelon Creek, which involved a combination of ground combat, tactical strikes, and securing vital infrastructure to push back enemy forces. It was against the automatons?
It was.
Chuck? Yeah. The strategic importance lies in its resources and its position as a stronghold for the opposing forces. Oh, I see. So these guys were getting close. This was their Okinawa so we had to take back. Malevelon Creek was like Okinawa. We had to get it back so that they wouldn't have a strategic position. I see. So reclaiming the planet was essential for securing the Federation's foothold in the region. The battle was a large-scale offensive after the release of Helldivers II. And the battle for Malevelon Creek was one of the first large-scale conflicts in Helldivers II, helping to establish the game's universe. Who won? Doesn't say.
The way it went, as I remember, the automatons won at first, and then like we kept hanging on, and then we re-liberated it on April 2nd. What they did is like once we liberated it, they sent like another force, and like we crushed that shit in like 16 hours. And everyone that's when Malevelon Creek Day was declared and all that. But what came later is we found out that was only like a little fake that they were doing. They sent that tiny force, and then this fucking giant force showed up later that they had already made all those fucking robots, and we had to fight for Malevelon Creek again.
Damn, dude, that's some like Sun Tzu Art of War shit right there. They did. They must have that ChatGPT installed.
They dropped the bomb. Dude, I remember seeing a video of a child crying his eyes out when we lost Malevelon Creek that first time. Like, and I think partially the video was like the kid, you know, they logged on and they were getting ready to play, like him and his dad, and they were going to, you know, play on Malevelon Creek, and like they couldn't get in, and like the kid was literally bawling his eyes out. Like, as hard as it was fun as shit. Like it nothing compared. You'd go over to the Terminid side and it was like target practice or something, you know.
Fuck,
but,
no shoot.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Malevelon Creek, what a wild place.
Do you remember any other battles? Because it looks like, if I may, real quick.
Personal notes next to Durgan. Hingy dingy Durgan. It's right next door.
The hingy dingy.
Durgan, the planet Durgan. How did we not realize that at the time?
Hold on here. Check it out. This is like post-release, right? So the game was released, and the first battle was the Battle for Super Earth Survival. Operation Swift Disassembly was in April. The Assault on Malevelon Creek. Operation Viper Commandos. Operation Truth Enforcers. Illuminate's Assault on Calypso. That was in December. The Omens of Tyranny. The Battle for Genesis Prime. Damn, man, there's been a lot of battles. And now where we are now is the emergence of space anomalies. Which is funny, because remember last night when we were playing, I was like, fuck that, we ain't letting no fucking Illuminati bring no space anomalies over here.
Oh, yeah, that's
You're like, and what were you? You were like, yeah, we don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Damn. Yeah.
It's like there's a big ass black hole approaching our galaxy. You're like, ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, I got shit to do later.
Man, it is interesting to believe it. It's in one sense, it's hard to believe it's been a year, and in another sense, like I just feel like we've played so many things since then. Like I do feel like Pepe Tortilla has kept a steady like Helldivers going. Like you know, every now and then I'll see he's over there, and you know, just talking to him as well. But I hadn't been in much lately, and I've kept it downloaded. You know, I never said like, oh, I'm not going back, you know, kind of feeling. But yeah, our trip last night was first time in a few months.
And I'm glad we did it, because I kind of want to play more now.
I do too. I could do some more, and yeah,
There's so many good games right now, man. It's so annoying. It's like a good problem.
Yeah,
there's so many games I want to play right now. It's an annoying good problem. Because I want to play more. Sorry, I want to play, and we'll stay on point here with Helldivers II. But I want to play more Hell Let Loose. I want to play more Armor Reforger. I want to play more. You know, I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. I want to play more Dying Light with you. There's so many games, and this year is going to be great for games. It looks like.
Yeah, I don't have my finger on the pulse of like a lot of new stuff coming out, but I know like I definitely want to, you know, the new maps in Ark or something I'm looking forward to, and I want to go back and do some more Elden Ring for sure, and that new game, that Night Rain thing, I think it's called, maybe that's coming out, looks really good to me, and I do feel like, you know, kind of tying it back into our discussion of you know, kind of the lore and what's happened in the last year with Helldivers. I noticed some articles too, like the guys from this Airhead studio talking about that. It seems like the gaming industry just did a bunch of firings, and like AI is kind of like becoming a thing. Like I don't know if you saw. Are
you trying to say that the game, like all the gaming developer studios, got caught up in that Doge?
It almost sounded like it. That's the way this article
they got doged out over there.
was about it, and they were basically saying like it took years to make Helldivers 2, dude. They said it took like 4 years, like and which was a lot longer than they expected, and you know, it's almost like he was saying that they're doing this thing like where they'll kind of ramp up like hell, and then there'll be a mass firing, and then they'll ramp up like they want to figure out some way to keep it steady, like where, you know, folks can have a job and it kind of stay there. But it seems like the way it happens is a studio will have some success, and then the big folks come and buy them out. You know, and then that whole sort of dynamic changes, and you know, and I feel like AI is really starting to, because man, I don't know if you noticed, but they actually released a new map for Ark Survival Evolved, not Ascended. They released a new map called Aquatica, and they did a trailer for it, and people are calling it out for AI, and like the way people are starting to recognize AI drawings is like, if you really look at the human anatomy, like you'll see, like, you know, shit has more fingers than it's supposed to, and shit'll have like an extra joint. Like you'll notice how like a wrist or something is kind of bending in a way that it just doesn't naturally. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it looks great. Like you look at it and it's like way better than you could have drawn it. But if you really get to looking, like,
it's like,
you know, the language on the hat, you know, will be like, it's like some Star Trek language.
Yeah,
or
some like No Man's Sky, like, you know, like Viking language or something. Or like Klingon. Was that Klingon on his hat? I've seen that before. I'm pretty sure that's Romulan.
Well, and I think that's something I know I've watched like the older folks in my life, like, you know, they could easily be fooled by, you know, the simplest fucking thing on Facebook, you know, AI. It's like, you know, and like, you know, you could just obviously look at it and tell it was AI. Like those days are gone, dude. Like, you know, I think that like I can still kind of tell, but like it's starting to get harder. And
yeah, you're right.
I feel like a couple years from now, like I'll be the dope, you know, I'll be like, did you see that video? You know, and you'll be like, dude,
we'll be good. You'll be good, man. You just gotta keep the right mindset, and not never fall into that mindset where like, oh, I'm past a certain age now, so that means I can't do it. And that's all BS, in my opinion. But true. Hey, hold up, like, how could we? Or how would Arrowhead Studios potentially approach that? Because I mean, AI and LLMs and all this stuff, you know, is already being used in video game creation. So like with Helldivers 2, you know, I think they procedurally generate their maps and their layouts and all that. So maybe they could use AI in some form or fashion. Maybe they already are, to help the map dynamics stay fresh, stay engaging, you know, because they're already doing the procedural generation. So that's always going to keep that fresh. But maybe they can also incorporate AI in some form or fashion to like interpret the player's movements and be like, hey, let's put some enemies over here. Let's put a Hulk right here. I don't know if that's an actual name of a bad guy. Let's put a Charger over here. You know, like, you know what I mean? They can start, you know, using it to create advantages like that.
You know where you can get some insight into this is looking at job listings for these companies. Someone had posted in a forum there on Reddit, an Ark forum, like a Snail Games job advertisement. And what I could tell, like it listed a bunch of AI shit, like Comfy AI and some stuff that does like procedurally generated stuff. And the way the job description like listed it, it kind of looked like that person would be responsible for generating that shit with that AI and then going back and going over it, like and the way it worded it was like, you know, bringing it up to the standards of our game, or, you know, I forget exactly how it worded it, but like it was almost like there was a process of things being created by AI and then people having to go back over them and look for shit like I'm talking about, like, you know, hands that don't look right, like you know, things like people pointed out in that Ark trailer, like when the guy, it's like it's a water world and the guy's swimming and his foot's like, you know, like doing shit feet don't do. You know, like the way his ankle's bending, like you're just kind of like, that looks procedurally like that looks AI. So
well, maybe they can use it to create new war bonds and stuff like that, which is something I wanted to ask you. Like, if you have a favorite war bond, or have you unlocked all of the war bonds from Helldivers 2?
God, no. For me, like usually it's not so much the cosmetic things as it is like those, what are those things called? Like where we add the little heart, or
yeah,
the little,
the passive buff, like the passive defense, or
those are my favorites, dude. I'm usually like trying to get to the next one of those. Like,
Interesting.
I'm trying to buy a bunch of shit to get to the next page so I can get to one of those that I really want.
Interesting. That's odd. Okay. Dude, I'm so far behind on the war bonds. I think I have like the first one and the second one unlocked. But like, so far we've like the key war bonds are the Viper Commandos war bond, the Truth Enforcers war bond, Urban Legends war bond, Borderline Justice war bond, which is that last one. That thing looks cool. How about that lever action? I've heard it's strong, dude. I've heard that thing's...
Is that the one they're calling the Eruptor or something?
No, it's called the R6 Deadeye level action marksman rifle. Deadeye.
I picked up, one of our teammates was using it last night, and I picked it up like right in front of him too. Like I didn't, it wasn't like on purpose, like me just being a dick or whatever, but I literally, just saw the shit. I was like, oh, a rover. And I was like, is that my rover? And I was looking at it, and then I picked up the gun, and like as soon as I was done, there he was, like you could just see him like running to get his shit. And then I wanted to hand it back, to drop it, but I was just like, I don't remember how to drop things. Like, fuck, that's gonna take forever.
It's funny because it looks like a galactic, futuristic version of like what are those rifles called? The Henry
lever, the Buffalo Bill,
the Henry
like lever action.
Is it the Henry though? The Henry.
The repeater.
Henry repeater.
Rifle.
Wow, man, those things, man, freaking big old freaking round, dude. Thing will knock you to hell. Yeah, it had that like I don't remember if it was a hexagon or like an octagon shaped barrel, on the outside. Oh man, those things hit hard, dude. So that's just like so that last war bond, the Borderline Justice war bond, was released March. So it was released this month. Oh, it looks like it was released a couple of days ago. Shit. Key features: the R6 Deadeye lever action marksman rifle and the LAS 58 Talon laser revolver. And you'd also get the TED 69 dynamite demolition charge. I heard this dynamite demolition charge has like a 60-second fuse on it, man. If you want to use it, it has like different fuse lengths. I've heard good and negative reviews about this last war bond. But some of the good reviews I heard, and then I'll shut up, Chuck. Some of the good reviews I've heard are that these two weapons, the Deadeye lever action marksman rifle and the Talon laser revolver, hit hard. I've heard that they hit hard, man. Those big automaton, what are they called? Like the Hulks or something? I don't remember but they're just huge. You can one-shot them in the face with that rifle. One shot.
Shit.
Yeah, we should try that later. I can't though because I don't have it. But
yeah. I'm surprised. Like, there's been like because I feel like I said, Pepe Tortilla in our squad has been playing, fairly consistently, and there's been a few times that he said like, "Hey, you guys should try it." Like, there's been some new content here and there, and like I know for me, I was just playing other shit. It wasn't that I had anything against Helldivers or like I was mad at Sony for making people get a PlayStation account or something, but I do think like also, like, knowing that there were that group of people out there that were kind of pissed at the game, like, also made it easier to not care, like, sort of, and it does seem like folks are getting over that. Like what are your thoughts on that? Like how did they come back from this, other than getting the balancing right and quitting with the nerfing and keeping the war bonds coming out and the Illuminids coming in? I guess are the ways that I kind of see, but people were pissed, dude. Like there's a whole theme of that kind of in the world right now. I went on a date with a girl that said the phrase "fuck capitalism," and I was just like, I remember thinking like, this chick is nuts. Like, and like now I'm like, man, that's not the most unusual opinion that I hear lately. Like,
yeah. It's like it is the worst system except for all the others, right?
True. Yeah, wasn't that Winston Churchill that said that?
Yeah,
It's the
someone.
worst form of government, save all the rest. Yeah, true. And this game kind of points it out. It's a kind of a nice synopsis. Like you have that managed democracy, and like I think it's interesting that they put the world headquarters is in Sweden. Like since the Airhead Studios were in Sweden,
Yeah,
that was
Stockholm
an
there.
interesting point in that lore video. But
Yeah, and did you
Yeah,
see
like,
that like
look at
all
this.
of the UK is in a like hazard radioactive zone on the map? If you look at the lore maps, there's like these areas that are like uninhabitable now. Uninhabitable, they're like hazard
They always
zones,
pick
like
the
nuclear
UK.
wastelands, and like all of the UK is blotted out. They didn't make
pointed
it.
that out several times, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there must be a grudge there in the. I'm just kidding.
They are feeling it a little bit. So, I mentioned to you last night, like kind of my analogy was as a kid when I played Atari, like I paid out the ass, relatively speaking. Like in today's dollars, like I probably paid fucking, $100 for that Pac-Man game to bring home my 2600, and it's known for sucking. Like, and I never remember being mad at Atari. Like, I genuinely just was glad they existed. I had a T-shirt, for God's sake. Like, I was giving them free advertising walking around. And, like, I had the same, like when we talk about my PlayStation 1 or my slim PlayStation 2 with its, fire engine red memory chip, and like I love Sony.
Yeah.
Hell, I had some friends in college who formed a band that Sony signed, and they flew them like out to Las Vegas or some shit. And I'm here thinking, man, I wish I was Sony would come call me. Like,
Yeah. Look, maybe it's similar, man. And I'm just brainstorming because you asked me but maybe it's kind of similar to how the thing went down with the samples and that guy that you found. Like his position was the right one, but he just went about it a really bad way that made him ultimately wrong, even though he was right. So maybe it's not that PlayStation's wrong because they're actually right, because they were open about it from the get-go. It's just kind of how everyone went about it that made everyone say, to hell with this. Screw that.
Yeah.
You guys you're wrong. So it's maybe ultimately, even though they were right, it was the way that everyone went about it that ended up making them wrong. And ultimately, the client, the customer, us, the gamer, we are always right. Right? The customer's always right.
It's true.
That's us.
It's true. And I think that's it too, is like you look at like their different departments and things. Like I think the origin of the PlayStation Network was like something like a Sony network. Instead of PSN, it was something SEN, something like that.
It's PSN.
But if you look back though, there's a time when it was something different. It's on the Sony Wikipedia page because what we're actually dealing with is Sony Interactive Entertainment, like not just Sony, like that's like their video game section. And it's like ultimately, like it's obvious that this network thing was a way to get you involved in other Sony shit to make them more money. And like we sit here and look, and it's like, do you not have enough fucking money already? Is a lot of how I think, where your mind goes. But I think their argument is that they have stockholders, like people that bought that stock for a certain price and they expect it to grow.
I don't think so. I'm sure there's a lot of different reasons on both ends. But the thing is that it's just about how they went about it, man. It's about how they went about it, if you ask me, because there's the argument of like, yeah, but they paid for it, right? You paid for a game. That's your barrier to entry, paying for the game. There shouldn't be any more barriers of entry.
That's true.
Right?
Boy, there shouldn't be something stop you after you've paid for it from playing it like those poor folks
So that's
couldn't.
there's a huge argument there. It's like, but then Sony's argument would be like, yeah, but it's in the EULA, the end user license agreement, that you'll have to create a third party account.
Yeah. They definitely did go about it in the wrong way,
At the wrong time.
The timing was unbelievably shitty, especially for Helldivers 2. Like I can only imagine working years on that fucking game and get everything going right, and then somebody doing something that foolish. But I do think my my thoughts lie somewhere, just a tiny bit like in the middle. I'm not quite as mad at Sony, for pursuing that as other folks might be, but I also understand like heavily like why people felt that way.
And then, we're speaking from also a position of privilege in a sense, and that has to be stated. Like, we're on PlayStation, right? So we don't have to deal with any of this. We're
True.
looking from the sideline, but
True.
But I get both angles.
What are your thoughts on, like, this happens a lot, it seems like, these days, where folks, like, just because they're mad at something, they'll give it an unhonest negative review. Like, I don't
think
care
that's
for that.
unhonest of the reviewer.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
I don't like that. Like, that's not cool. I don't do that kind of stuff.
No, and that's one part that kind of makes me on Sony's side just a tiny bit in this. Like the people that went to Steam and said they didn't like that game, when obviously it's a pretty damn fun game. Like, that's fucked up in my opinion.
It is,
like,
and I don't have to go and it's just gonna make me look bad.
Yeah, I feel like there are exceptions, but like focusing on something you don't like and spending part of your day like engaged in that is a fucked up way to live, in my opinion. Like, unless it's like, presenting, like I go out my door and there's a big guy there, it's like, you can't come out. Like, yeah, I got to address that. But like,
yeah.
If I head to the gym, like I don't have to think about, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
that it was on that one thing. Yeah, when I was gaming, that one random gamer said, yeah,
and you'll find people on social media that have made a life out of like disliking something, hating something, and you're just like, I'm not. I don't feel like this is healthy for anyone here, but you kind of it's just part of how connected we are, I guess, But I'm happy. Helldivers is making a comeback, and I've enjoyed thinking, going back, and it's interesting to see that story put like in a lore type story, like with all the battles, like when it mentioned ones I was involved in, like it brought back those warm fuzzy feelings, like when I talk about playing games from my childhood. So,
well, yesterday, man, you told me you got a little teary.
I did. I was a little. I had to check myself because I was going to suggest we make a T-shirt and sell it or something there for a few minutes. And then
well, hey, before we wrap it up, and we do need to wrap it up because we're at our hour mark. But you asked a very specific question, and I didn't get to answer it there. You asked me, why is there a resurgence in the player engagement? And I think it's a collection of a few things, right? I think time has passed, and time does heal. I think that they've done a lot of gameplay balancing to make things better, which was part of the issue. And I think that these last updates, right, the Omens of Tyranny update, which was like the return of the Illumined faction, the reintroduction of the Illumined, which is a formidable and intelligent enemy, and that just naturally will bring new depth and engagement and challenge to the gameplay, right? So that was a huge thing, I think. Also, the Borderline Justice Warbond has an impact, whenever there's new content. So I think these things, like mainly the two things, the reintroduction of the Illumined, or the return of the Illumined rather, and then the gameplay balance improvements. Those are the two main things in my opinion. Plus the Borderline Justice Warbond helps a little bit whenever there's new content. But I'm more interested to see how they will continue in the future to keep us engaged, because it is a live service game. And that's
I am too.
Where I stand on all this.
I do feel like there's one thing I forgot to mention in that timeline is they weathered Space Marine Warhammer 40,000, whatever that game was. Like it was a shit ton like this game and was super popular, and I'm not hearing a ton about it right now. And like that says something for this game. We didn't get a chance to play it, but I felt like it was a clear, like, sort of copycat to this a little bit, and like, yeah, it kind of came and went a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. I haven't heard anything about it in here, but man, we got to wrap it up. So, fellow gamers, thank you so much for tuning in. Get out there and fight for democracy, and maybe we will see you on the battlefields fighting against the Illumined. You'll definitely see the Tomahawk out there, man. He's rolling around in that new, what is that vehicle that you get now?
Some kind of car. I'll probably be in my Exo Patriot. Because I lived through the times when you turned in it and shot and killed yourself with it. So I'm going to be using that one that works now.
Hell yeah. You'll see us on the battlefields. And Chuck, thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, y'all. It's Chuck T. I don't know how, but here you are listening to me. So this is your call to action. Need you to hit the social medias, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikTok, and put in @NWG Podcasts, and you'll figure out what we've been doing lately and what's going on with the podcast, and that'll link you up and maybe get over there listening to it out there on Spotify and Apple and those kind of places, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a review. 5 stars is what I'm thinking. Even if you don't like it, give us a 5-star anyway, and we'll read it out on the podcast. So yeah, help us out. Give us some feedback. Interact. And if you take a notion, want to send us an email, you can get in touch with us at Ovox and Chuk@gmail.com. That's OVOXANDCHUK @gmail.com. Hope to see you there.